On the Nature Conservancy's website, Carter Preserve is titled one of South County's best hiking areas, and it truly is. The website goes on to say, the trails wind over a landscape formed by glaciers and shaped by generations of farmers. From field to forest, this land has interesting stories to tell. Every bit of this statement is true. I've hiked every trail on this 4 interconnected loop in every season. Most of it's 1,100 acres. From the overlook deck on the vernal pond to the glacial erratics, from the pitch pine barrens and the rocky hills and around to the 60-acre grasslands. The stone walls and huge boulders tell the stories of how the land was carved from ice and cultivated by man. But in one corner of the grass fields there's an anomaly. A short 2-lane road cutting through a short section of trees and gated off where it meets the neighborhood. There's no signs, no markers, no obvious reason for this paved lane to exist. The story of why it's there isn't one you'll find easily. It's the story of Robert Peabody and the nuclear disaster that ended his life. Today's episode takes us to the south coast of Rhode Island to Charlestown, a little beach community that has a penchant for open spaces, and for many years, I lived in the town for several years, and one of the things I appreciated was how hard the city council fought to keep the large commercial projects out of the town, and to keep the open spaces, open and accessible to everyone. This has disrupted my own view of other coastal towns, and now every time I see an old factory, manufacturing facility, or trail rail built close to the water, I wonder why they had such short-sightedness, and question why they couldn't have tried to preserve the coast as well as Charlestown has. Of course, the low-income housing project started by the Narragansett tribe that has sat abandoned since the mid-90s could probably tell a darker tale about battling progress, but I'll leave that for another episode. The Carter Preserve that sits straddling the rocky uplands of the Charlestown moraine is a connector for several thousand acres of forest. It is part of an 11-mile stretch of protected land connecting the Nunavut National Wildlife Refuge to the Carolina Management Area in Richmond, Rhode Island. The preserve also serves as protection for a mile-long stretch of the Pawcatuck River. There's a few different ways to start on these trails. The one I found first is directly off of Route 112. It's a small lot near a vernal pond that, depending on what time of year you go, may look like a pond or a small open section of grassland. You'll notice a sign next to the trailhead map that warns you to avoid the trail during high winds. Unfortunately, this is accurate. The hardwoods, I believe the oaks, but I could be mistaken, have been decimated by either an invasive species or disease, and much of the area is a graveyard of dead but still standing trees. High winds and gusts can easily knock down branches or even whole trees at any time, so be cautious if you travel here. The second way I found is along Old Mill Road. This is my favorite one to start at currently because you can quickly get to the glacial erratics from the first intersection, or go straight and head into the open grasslands. The third trail is the western trailhead on 411 in Wood River Junction, and since I've never started there, or even walked out to it, I have nothing of value to tell you about it. What I can tell you is about the rest of the trails. On the Red Loop Trail past the Stone Chimney, the glacial erratic section is one of my favorites. It winds through huge boulders and over rocky hills with views of long stone walls bisecting the woods in all directions. This then connects to the Narragansett Trail and through the center of the grasslands. Connected to this is the Yellow Trail. It continues around the rest of the grasslands and goes back to the Old Mill Trail head parking via the sheep path. The next loop is the Blue Trail. At the farthest point, it walks along the ice pond. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this might be a spot where early settlers gathered ice from the winter for storage over the warmer summer months. The rest of this trail goes through an open forest setting. In the late summer, the trail can get quite overgrown with waist-high foliage and ferns, to the point where even the path, you can't see the ground, or even below your waist. I remember it just looking like a rolling sea made of ferns. There was a large boulder about 50 yards off the trail. I wanted to walk to it and climb it, like an explorer finding a new island. But I wasn't entirely sure if I could have found the path once I left. Also, I didn't want to be picking ticks off myself for the remainder of the hike. It also felt like it could have been a scene right out of a low-budget horror movie. Some creature, only 3 feet tall, moving quickly through the ferns, surrounds me, the protagonist, while I'm on the rock, keeping me from getting back to safety. After several hours not seeing any movement, I make a dash for the trail, only to realize that there's more of them, and they drive me deeper into the field. Netflix, give me a call. The easternmost section of the Orange Loop, this one travels through deeper forest past a historic dam and many more boulders, and it connects to the small white loop near the 112 trailhead and the vernal pond. The last trailhead is probably the most interesting one. This is the one near Botka Woods Drive, and it has a gate. Instead of leading from the gate directly to a trail, you walk along first a 2-lane paved road. It goes to the edge of the field to what looks like it could be a gravel parking lot. There are no signs, no markers, nothing to let you know what this area was. But if you were to look up nuclear accidents, you would find the United Nuclear Wood River facility on the list along places like Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island. The area at the end of this small road was the location of a criticality accident in 1964, resulting in the death of technician Robert Peabody. Opened in 1963, the facility was designed to recover highly enriched uranium fuel from scrap material left over from fuel production. Due to poor labeling and using similar shaped containers, Peabody mistakenly added uranium solution instead of trichloroethane to a tank he was intended to clean. The sievert being a unit of measure for radiation exposure, 2 to 10 in the short term would cause extreme radiation sickness and would likely be fatal. Peabody was exposed almost instantly over his entire body to 82 to 190 sieverts. Robert died 49 hours after exposure at the Rhode Island hospital. There is a very informative YouTube video by Jason Aller titled Abandoned Nuclear Facility, Wood River Junction Criticality Accident, Rhode Island. It details the accident and the events that took place before and after. After a cleanup due to 14 violations found after the accident, the plant reopened in 1965 and remained open until 1980. When reduction in profits caused the plant to be abandoned, the plant reopened. The company searched for better investments. A 1979 survey had found that the site of the plant had leaked radiation in the immediate area, prompting a cleanup. The buildings were eventually demolished in 1994, and the site was determined to be safe in 1995. Today, the area is pristine. If you have a keen enough eye, you can find the outlines of the nuclear facility buildings near the edge of the grasslands. Like I said earlier, the road leading in is still mostly there, partially overgrown, and the radiation that was once present is now gone. You'd be exposed to more radiation by eating a banana than you would walking through Carter Preserve.